Right, we are live. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Kiwi Lads channel. We are back for another match of the Tokyo Olympics, the second last for these two sides, Samoa and Japan. Now, they are in the 9th place playoff game, which pretty much means whoever wins this contest will go on to face Kenya or Uruguay, whoever wins that other matchup. But we have got quarterfinals also just around the corner that will be taking place, starting off with New Zealand versus South Africa. That one is going to be a barnstormer of a match. And I'm thoroughly excited to see these two sides go head-to-head. Samoa, they did quite a bit in their last game up against the Kenyans. Managed to get themselves a nice points differential just to have South Africa get a better points differential in their game up against the Japanese to then knock Samoa out of the competition. So we're playing France's cats now. So of course Argentina taking on the French. It's been a hostile environment between those two sides throughout this weekend, and I feel like that quarterfinal will be no different. But looking through at the starting lineups and reserves for these two sides, for the Samoans, it will be Valvasa Afasua in the starting lineup. Motu Opitai, Taununa Olivaia, Neueli Letufia, Fa'afoi Falaniko, Paul Scanlon, and Va'a Apilo Maleko, the last man for the Samoans. For the Japanese, it will be Taiga Ishida, Kipi Ishida, the captain for Japan. They have also got their Shotaro Tezuoka on the field, Fukushi, Taninaka, Noguchi, and also it is Maruo, the last man on the field for the Japanese. Now, those are the names that don't quite roll off my tongue too well throughout this weekend, I will admit, but could be the last game that we cover of Japan for their overall Olympics campaign. Fiji looks strong, so does America. Says Katzenel. Yeah, it was interesting. They were talking about how USA as well as Australia have never won an Olympic medal. And when you look at the caliber of skill and the caliber of players that they both have, it is very surprising. I mean, we look at a Henry Hutchison. This is his third Olympic Games. He's never got that podium. Not yet. Anyway, good morning, brother. Can't wait for the basketball on Sunday, says Kyle. So I assume New Zealand have got a team in that, Kyle. I'll be honest, I have no idea about who is in the basketball side of things, but I do know that the football is underway, isn't it, for New Zealand men and women. New Zealand men getting the win. Then I believe there was the loss for the New Zealanders up against the Canadians just recently. But it looks like we are about to have another session start involving Japan and Samoa. Hi, says LFG. What is the next match? The next match that we are doing, it is going to be South Africa taking on New Zealand. Now, there is a match in between, which is Uruguay taking on the Kenyans, but we are skipping that game so that we can go straight to that next contest afterwards involving the quarterfinals. And that is also because we'll probably have about 10 minutes of build-up looking through at what has happened for those two sides throughout recent times. Look at there, South Africa will come from behind and take the victory, says LFG. Although, out of those two sides, of course, New Zealand have been known definitely up against the Irish to get them behind. I don't think New Zealand have a team. Says Kyle, are you doing the Ireland match? We certainly are. Ireland going to be taking on the Flying Fijians. That is going to be an outstanding game when it does take place, ladies and gentlemen. The 4 quarterfinals, honestly, it's worked out quite well in regards of, yes, 2 of the quarterfinals, I believe, are the more stacked, and that is the one involving New Zealand, South Africa, as well as the one between Ireland and Fiji. But then at the same time, Argentina versus France, one of those two sides could go on and get themselves the gold. So it's split in quite a nice way. And then I believe that we're going to get into the situation how the final should be very competitive, whoever makes it through, which is good news. But Japan making their way out of the tunnel, getting ready to go for yet again another matchup in this competition. Now, they did come in as the lowest ranked side, the Asian qualifiers. They just want to go out here and put in a good showing. Samoa, though, you could say Samoa have the opportunity to take out some of their frustrations because Japan had to stay close up against South Africa for Samoa to go through to the quarters. They weren't able to do so. The refereeing panel get to have that nice run out every single time that the matches are taking place. You are my new favourite YouTuber, says LFG. Out of curiosity, just because, of course, I would love to know, who was your favourite beforehand? Was it rugby related, or was it just a random channel in terms of the world of YouTube? There are so many different niches on YouTube. You could literally, You know, it might be some random fellow opening cards that have pictures of cats on them. That could have been your most recent favourite YouTube channel. I don't even know if there are YouTube channels that do that. There probably are, aren't there? But 5 seconds away from the kickoff, Japan will be kicking this one off from left to right. And we are now underway for the 9th place playoff contest. It is going to be kicked off short, and Japan once again can't get the restart right. That was the summary of their game up against the South Africans. Unfortunately, just unable to claim it 90% of the time. And unfortunately, in doing so, not being able to hang on to that ball, you know, it was just something that drastically hurt them in that match up against South Africa, and also up against Ireland and New Zealand. That is something that they will have to look at in the future of how can we retain that ball more. They've got quite a short side overall, but then some of the taller players don't really use their size to their advantage. My last favourite YouTuber was the Rugby guy. He does quite a bit of Instagram too, doesn't he? I think the Rugby guy, if it's the Rugby guy that I'm thinking of. That's a nice break and run here for Paul Scanlon. It's going to be a foot race, but he is certainly winning it. And Samoa will score themselves their first try. Oh, one of the Japanese players giving Scanlon a bit of an extra push there and almost knocked him over a barricade. But Samoa just breaking off the scrum, one step straight through the Japanese defence. I love rugby. Says LFG, and Samoa putting up 50. Says Katsunao. And I mean, don't get me wrong, it would be great for Samoa in terms of being able to get 50 points on the board, but you also have to ask the question, if they have 50 points here, could they have done more in some of their other contests? That kick is over from Niueli Letufia, so that will now make the score 7-0 in favour of the Samoans. For anyone who doesn't know the order of quarterfinals, the first one will be New Zealand versus South Africa, followed by Argentina, France. Then it is the matchup between Ireland and Fiji. And then the last but not least, it will be Australia versus USA, for anyone wondering about the overall order. But it is going to be kicked off nicely, taken under the high ball for Japan. But Samoa have given away the penalty in an offside position. Scanlon thought the ball was out, so did grab it. Has ended up with the penalty against him. Like they've just said, you have to make sure that the ball has completely come out before you do commit to stealing it from the back of a breakdown. This looks like Japan are going to go for the quick tap. Yes, they are. They're only 30 metres out from their own line, so a little bit of a risky position on the field to be playing around with a quick tap, but they are going now to the left-hand side for the Japanese. In the hands of Fukushi, nice step there, but now straight in the breakdown is Va'a Apilomaliko, and he has stolen that ball, the big fend and the offload. Scanlon thought about going on the inside, but he will score his second try of the contest. Va'a Apilomaliko, at first when he did not succeed in that breakdown, he tried again, and just cleanly stealing it, breaking down the short side. Good effort there from Taiga Ishida to try and stop him initially. But Paul Scanlon received the offload from Apelo Maleko. That was going to be extremely tricky to defend for Japan. It hasn't been the most, I guess, fun competition, I guess you could say, for Japan with the amount of points that they have conceded. They conceded 40 against New Zealand. They conceded 40 against the Irish, and then they conceded almost 50 against South Africa. And already they find themselves 14-0 down after a fantastic kick from the Samoans near the touchline. New Zealand whooped Japan and then whooped South Africa. Says Manu. Yeah, but it's going to be interesting. That game, like I've said, the quarterfinals, New Zealand are facing a side in South Africa who have the most losses out of any side in the quarterfinal, but that does not mean they can't go on to win the whole comp, because they've got the capabilities. Definitely if they do play like they did up against the Japanese, keeping that position and just being relentless in the breakdowns. But going off to the left-hand side here for Japan. Inside ball, Taninaka does find Ishida, who puts in the cross kick. It's a risky one from inside your own 22, but it looks like it's going to work out for them. Now looking for the offload, Japan. On the short side, Maruo. And back across. Haven't got a huge amount of metres, but the crowd are starting to get behind them now, Japan. They'd love to see them score the try. That is going to be the penalty. Or is it? Referee was about to award a penalty, but now it looks like it's going to be the advantage instead. New Zealand beat Ireland. Says nah, Manu. Yeah. Although, like, as good as it is that they won those games in their group stage, right? Next 3 games are the crucial ones. Because we look at, like I mentioned, South Africa, they haven't won too many games throughout this Olympics, but they have just as much of a shot as winning the gold medal as any other side in those quarterfinals now. So New Zealand, they've built up a good foundation, but now the big games are here, and they have to make sure they perform in those ones too. And Japan doing everything right, but it's not just not good enough, says Gatsanel. Unfortunately, like, they've got some quick players. The problem that they've got is, in some regards, they do lack a bit of power, and that is by no means their fault. When you look at the size of some of the players that are on the field, they probably packed well above their weight. But when you're going up against like a 6'2", 110 kg Samoan, like, you are going to be slightly outmuscled, unfortunately, for the Japanese. And it's been a little bit the same with their defense as well, because they have to commit 1 or 2 men to different types of breakdown. It just means that they do end up with a bit more open space. Tell you what, Samoa are risking it here. They have almost been forced over their try line, but it will be a Japan knock-on. Didn't Great Britain qualify? They actually missed out in the end. It was in the repechage, South Africa and Great Britain both still had a great opportunity of being able to qualify, and then in the end, South Africa won the final, so they went through. But yeah, it feels a bit weird not having Great Britain, definitely because last Olympics, I remember that they were one of the bigger talking points, even though I don't think they finished that well. You also got to have a cool brain, that is true. They can't let the occasion get to them, but the biggest ever crowd for a Sevens event, 69,000 in attendance. That is almost a nice bit of work from Japan, but I think there was a double knock-on, which means they will have the scrum 5 metres out from Samoa's try line. Only 15 seconds remaining in this first half. We've had quite a bit of stop and start, a lot of scrums here. Let's have a beat Great Britain. So here's LFG. Yeah, just the double knock-on there. First from Neueli Letofea, and then the next coming from Japan with Fukushi. And hi, how are you doing today, says Yako. I'm doing very well. I'm pretty nervous for the quarterfinals. I'll be honest, like, every single quarterfinal, I think both sides have a good shot of winning, which is fantastic news. Didn't GB lose the bronze medal final? Did they? Were they in the bronze medal for 2020? I know that. Oh, am I thinking of the semi-final where it was Argentina, South Africa, and Argentina went down to 5, didn't they? Because I know Gassion Raval got a red card, and then there was also another yellow card. Which game was that? Was that their quarter or the semi for the Argentines? And Blitzbox is not good in sevens, says Yako. I mean, they're in the quarterfinals. They have done just as well as anyone else in terms of being in with a shot of winning. Yes, they have lost more games, but they are still up for the fight. That is a great step there from the captain, Ishida. And that is now going to be their first try. In fact, it's Nagushi does come up with the try in the end. The sniping run off the back. And Letofea just sold the wrong direction. That is a beautiful step right there. I think this is going to be a close game. Like, Samoa, they started off with their 2 quick tries, but Japan, once stuff had some possession, you know, they're starting to find a little bit of potential here. Although that kick has missed from 13. No, sorry, it has gone over. I thought that one was wide over the post, but that is going to make the score 14 points to 7 now between these two sides. Now, I should mention once again, the quarterfinals are just around the corner. The first one taking place, New Zealand versus South Africa. We are going to be covering that one on the channel. That is in 40 minutes' time. So if you are new to the channel, of course, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. I hope the Blitzbox going to the semi-final. Says Yako there. Yeah, it's certainly going to be a challenge for both of the sides. And it's a shame that both of them are going to be in the potential spot of getting knocked out this early. But whoever wins has a very good shot of going through and getting themselves at least a bronze medal. Canada has been underperforming, says Katzenel. I wouldn't say they've been underperforming. They've just been about how they have been, if that makes sense. Like, they aren't this sounds harsh, but they aren't a top 8 side in the Seven Circuit. Even though at times they've been close, they still are the side that were close to the weakest in terms of the overall competition. But little bit of rain falling. It was sunny earlier on in the day, and there's also, I don't think there's supposed to be any rain, so this could actually play a little bit of a factor in the later contest. A slippery ball could mean more knock-ons, more mistakes from the sides throughout the quarterfinals. Question is, who is the better side in wet conditions if it is still raining in 40 minutes' time? My score, Blitzbox 14-9 to New Zealand. Says Yako. Now second half just about to start up. 14 points to 7 at the moment, the way that this game sits. Now, whoever wins this game will still be in action tomorrow, and so will the loser of this contest. And they will be playing, hang on, we will quickly find it. There it is. So 2:30 a.m. on Sunday morning, New Zealand time. It is going to be the loser of this game playing off for the 11th place, and then the winner of this game will be playing at 3 a.m. New Zealand time, and that will be for 9th. That's going to be the knock-on from Samoa off the get-go. Just before the big game, God no. Says Katzenell. Well, that's the thing. It's been running too smoothly, hasn't it? It's been ideal conditions all throughout the week. Like, we're seeing 27 degrees Celsius as the high for earlier on today. They've been spoiled for the type of rugby that they've been able to play with the dry conditions. So it's about time there was just a little bit of rain to moisten up the surface. See the players sliding around later on. That's going to be a free kick now up against the Japanese. Quick tap taken by Letufea. Next week, Springbok versus Wallabies, Saturday morning. Says Yako, is it next week or the week after? I think it's the 10th of August, isn't it? That one is going to be taking place. Now, Valvasa Afasua trying to make his way forward. Another penalty goes the way of the Samoans. Now to the right-hand side. This will be open space. And Va'a Apelo Maleko tries to make it a little bit of an easier kick, as he does know that the points in this game will be crucial. But Samoa do get themselves the try. It's their third of the contest. Japan have struggled not to concede multiple tries throughout any of their games. Surprised no All Blacks or Box tried for the Olympics, says Crimson. I guess it is just because it is so hard to get into those sides. And yes, you can make the transition, but then you'd be missing the Rugby Championship. You'd possibly be missing the November internationals if you don't get enough rugby under your belt before going back in. We actually saw a perfect example of that, Caleb Clark, in the last Olympics. He came as injury cover for the All Blacks, and he lost his spot in the All Blacks for the next about 2 years, and also didn't get to play during the Olympics. So for the likes of Australia, I can understand it a little bit. They've got a couple guys in Corey Toole and Mark Nawanga-Netawasi who have had Sevens experience. Fiji, they've had a Sefa Masi in there, and Ravatamanda, who just seems like he has taken to Sevens extremely easily. That is going to be another drop ball there. I see cleaned up by Japan. All Blacks versus Argentina next week, Saturday, 10th of August. Says Yako there, and Paul Hamish sleep deprived. Says Bruce. Yeah, we've been running off like 2 hours of sleep over the last 2 days, which hasn't been ideal. We are pouring concrete in about 5 hours' time. In fact, a bit less than that. So that's going to be fun. Japan now going off to the right-hand side. One more pass. Still just inside of their 22. Loose ball. Letufea gets the bounce and will score the try. And we watch the match. Says Joseph, depends on what country you are in. Will depend on what your options are in terms of being able to watch. Do you think South Africa will win against Australia in the Rugby Championship? Says LFG. I think they should have a decent crack. Australia, they had some good moments up against the Welsh and Georgia, but they were still susceptible to a counter-attack. And, you know, South Africa should be able to score quite a few tries, I would like to think, up against the Australians. No Faf de Klerk at 9 either, so that will entice a little bit more of an attacking game. I think Satutu would go all right in sevens. He'd go all right in attack, but not so much in defence, I don't think, for Hoskins Satutu. That is one thing that he has been criticised of over the last few years, is that defensively he doesn't do as much work as he does on attack. And in sevens, you have to have that work rate, or else they will keep on targeting you, and they will find out pretty quickly that your defence is a liability. 28-7 now, the score in this contest. Brian Lima, he was happy with the performance that the Samoans put in up against Kenya. But unfortunately, South Africa, they got themselves that little bit more of a points differential. My score next week, Springboks 27-17 for the Wallabies. Saturday morning, 10th of August. I think next week it's the 3rd of August, isn't it? And then the week after is the 10th. Just looking at the calendar. So in about 16 days' time is when those ones are going to be taking place. But Japan once again inside of their 22. And beautiful step there. That has created a bit of an attacking scenario here for the Japanese running this one. Shitaro. Oh, he's dropped the ball. Unfortunately, Va'apilo Maliko has forced it out. I'm watching it in China, CCTV 5. I was bringing it, but in Chinese commentary. But we are now, says Joseph. Unfortunately, I'm not too sure of China's broadcasters, but I would recommend checking out the Olympics website. And that should be able to tell you. That is a great full field try from the Samoans, though, from the original mistake that we saw of the Japanese dropping that ball. And South Africa used to be unstoppable with Quagga and JC Pretorius guy. Sears gets in now. And well, great try, Henty and stuff. And has Hugo Keenan be good for Ireland? Honestly, like, I don't want to be too critical, but like he's been all right. You know, he's had a couple opportunities to score tries that he's kind of blown, but, you know, he's one of those guys that I feel like he just needed more time in the Sevens format beforehand, like jumping straight from the Six Nations, having, I think it was 1 round of Sevens or 2 rounds of Sevens, and then expecting to be at the best by the Olympics, I think was a bit optimistic for the Irish. But, you know, Ireland are doing all right. They would have been doing all right with or without him, I believe. Can you give us a link to watch? Sadly, I am watching through Sky Sport, which is only limited to New Zealand, sadly. My score, Samoa 30 and Japan 7. Currently, Samoa 35 points to 7 on the board with 2 minutes remaining. Keenan for Ireland, isn't what the Pontus for France, and I'm an Irish supporter, says Anthony. Yeah, like, I don't want to be too critical of him because I think he's still done, like, he's done all right, but you wouldn't, like you said, you wouldn't put him in that DuPont category of this guy's from Union and he's, like, completely changed the team. It's more of the case of he's joined in and you would think he was just another one of the Irish Sevens players, if that makes sense. Like, he hasn't got that X factor in his Sevens credibility yet, but that doesn't mean he can't get it. Now, Japan again. Spent a lot of time just passing the ball amongst themselves from just inside of their 22. That was a risky pass, but now the space has opened up again. Just trying to find that gap in the Samoan defense. Is going to be another big run from Shotaro. Now gets it away to Matsumoto, who made his way off the bench. On the halfway line now, 1 minute remaining. Can the Japanese get themselves one more try? That was almost an awkward knee extension. They have still got the possession. Ishida looking for that next pass. Good bump off there. Little Fair has to make that tackle. Lalo Milo gets the turnover. And now Tom Maeva with the skip pass out wide. It's going to be a foot race. Although it doesn't look like BJ Lima was that keen on doing all the running himself. Alamana Matanga, though, gets the pass away. Karevi has to be hurdled. Beautiful stepping from Steve Unisai. And he will score it now for Samoa. Oh, he's given the nod. He wants to give it to Va'apilo Maliko. No, he gives it to Lalo Milo. And he will get himself a try. A very deserved try as well. He has been strong throughout the competition. You see there, the Japanese coach not too happy with how that one's gone. He got the initials turnover, so his side decided to reward him with a try of his own. BJ Lima. It's a good initial run from him. Alamana Matanga, I'd love to see more of him on the Samoan Sevens, although the problem now is because they've been relegated down to the Challenger Series, I don't think he will be as keen to play for them. Like for the Olympics, absolutely. For the Commonwealth Games, absolutely. The World Cup, absolutely. But in the regular season and the Challenger Series, I just don't know whether or not they will put him in there. I feel like he'll have commitments to either Moana Pacifica or maybe just Samoa in general. When is New Zealand playing in 20 or 60 minutes? Says Cats announced that they are playing in 40 minutes time. So they are the first of the quarterfinals. There is still a game that has taken place beforehand, which is going to be Uruguay taking on the Kenyans. But then after that game, we are jumping straight into that main event, or at least one of the main events of the evening, South Africa versus New Zealand, followed by Argentina, France, then followed by Fiji versus Ireland, and then USA versus Australia. But I do thank you all very much for tuning in. If you did enjoy, of course, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Be sure to join us for that final, and I will see you all for the next one.